This is a CBS News special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell in Washington. Good afternoon. Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, is making his final return to Washington, 44 years after he left the White House. Mr. Carter died Sunday, December 29th, at the age of 100 years old. As his personal pastor told our Mark Strassman, the Sunday school teacher got called home on a Sunday. Well, later today, Carter will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol, where there will be a memorial there. As you can see here, a U.S. Air Force plane named Special Mission 39 in his honor, because he was the 39th president, flew his casket and the Carter family from Georgia to Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. If you're looking at this picture, you're saying, well, that looks like Air Force One. Well, it is the same plane that flies the president of the United States, but it's only called Air Force One when the president is on it. So now it is Special Air Mission 39 in honor of Jimmy Carter. This is actually the same plane that transported President George H.W. Bush in his final return to Washington. Now, this arrival ceremony is set to begin, and that's why we're live on the air to bring it to you along with analysis and historic perspective. The former president had lain in repose since Saturday evening at the Carter Center in Atlanta, and we're told today that more than 23,000 people visited there to pay their respects to the former president. Then, after a departure ceremony at the center, his casket was taken by hearse to Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, Georgia, for the flight back here to the Washington, D.C. area to Andrews Air Force Base. I want to check in with senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. She is at Joint Base Andrews, where Carter's casket has just arrived. Good afternoon, Weijia, and describe the ceremony that we'll see this afternoon.
Nora, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to everybody. Well, you see the jet that you are talking about right behind me. And as you mentioned, it is not Air Force One today. But when Carter, the former president, was president riding around on Air Force One, he was known to carry his own luggage on and off board. And I mentioned that, Nora, because I know today you will be reflecting so much about that small detail and how it represents his giant legacy as a simple, everyday man who really rejected the pomp and circumstance that came along with the presidency. But there will be no shortage of that today during this arrival ceremony. We will soon see emerging from this plane 33 members of the immediate Carter family, including the former president's 3 sons, 1 daughter, 11 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. They are a very close-knit family that really have been planning this arrival ceremony, including every part of today's events for several months, we are told by an official here at Joint Base Andrews, even down to the music, Nora. And so for this ceremony, they have chosen a traditional hymn, Abide With Me, that we will be hearing from the band here. And we will also be seeing a special honor guard today. In just a moment, we'll see the formation that is made up of the Joint Chiefs, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Chief of Staff to the Army, the Commandant to the Marine Corps, and the Chief of Naval Operations, along with the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the Chief of Staff of Space Operations. And this is the first time ever, Nora, that the Space Force will be participating in a state funeral. And so even though the former president was so eager to play down all of the ceremony that came with being the commander-in-chief, today, Nora, we will see so much of that, along with invited guests, invited active duty military members, and friends of the family, including that personal pastor that you spoke about. Nora?
Weijia Jiang reporting from Andrews Air Force Base, where it is a brisk and cold day here in our nation's capital, but the sun has come out for Jimmy Carter's return.